Hey guys, Rexter here, and welcome back to a brand new Poppy Playtime theory video. Today's video, we're going to be answering the question that a lot of people who've played Chapter 3 have been asking. Why hasn't the prototype, Catnap, and the other monsters that surround the Poppy Playtime universe actually attempted to truly kill us? Of course, we've made some close encounters, but with the amount of knowledge that the prototype has, I believe there would have been a reason to keep us alive this far. So it's simple. We're going to be answering 3 questions in today's video. 1 being the obvious question: how has the prototype not killed us? 2, why are we still alive? And 3, what does our life mean to the future of Poppy Playtime? So if that sounds good to you, ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn and a drink and let's go ahead and dive in. So for starters, let's go back to the beginning of Chapter 3. If you'll recall, Catnap literally had us in his grasp, exactly where we wanted to be, passed out after the train accident, holding us and throwing us eventually down into the garbage chute. It was at this point that he had every opportunity to get his easy way out, killing us as the main protagonist and ending everything that we could potentially be destroying for his plans, not to mention the prototype's plans. But instead, he spares our life and just kind of prolongs what eventually would end up taking his. Which, spoiler alert, we all know ended up in this crazy fight at the end of Chapter 3. Catnap ends up dying and the prototype pulls away his limp body, which he's pretty much responsible for. And it doesn't end there. There's been plenty of moments in Chapter 3 where we've passed by Catnap, almost not even realizing he was there, almost like he's been watching us the entire time. And if you literally hack the game and fly around the map, you'll notice Catnap has been doing exactly that. He's been in corners in the darkness and multiple times where he's just been looking at us. And he's not the only one. Think about all the other antagonists who have done something very similar. The biggest one that stands out is Mommy Longlegs. There was also a countless amount of times in Chapter 2 where she had the jump on us, where we had no idea that she was even in the building, and she could have killed us long before she eventually chased us in the epic chase scene at the end of the game. So now this brings up the first question: why are the monsters not killing us right away? We can start right there with Mommy Longlegs in Chapter 2. As I said before, there's many times where she could have killed us. Eventually, when we meet her and she introduces herself, she actually just decides to play games with us. It didn't really seem like she wanted to kill us up front and was more likely just toying with the protagonist at this point. However, as we already know at this point, after playing all these games and eventually getting the best of her, it again led to her death, and a horrible one at that. And of course, guess who was there to pick up the pieces? At the perfect time, we are finally introduced to the prototype when he drags her body through the grate. Now, of course, this ending scene is a lot more significant than we give it credit for, but more on that later. The first theory that I want to bring up is that these monsters have obviously gone through a lot of torment. This torment was of course brought upon them by the employees of the Playtime Co-Factory, which of course, that's where we used to work. So what if the monsters are keeping us alive in order to bring torment and torture to us? We obviously have a good amount of examples of this, seeing as Catnap literally did it to one of his fellow smiling critter friends. But now let's go ahead and talk about a different antagonist that we met in Chapter 3, and another one who didn't rush to kill us right away. And that antagonist would be the wonderful Miss Delight, the crazed orphanage teacher who ate her other colleagues along with her, let's just say, insane weapon, Barb. Now initially you would think a character like this would be desperate to eat another human, and of course she was presented with the ultimate opportunity when we decided to stumble into her playcare. And we already know she hates the employees that used to formerly work at the Playtime Co-Factory, but she decides to do the complete opposite when we do eventually arrive into the school, actually warning us against Catnap, and you can hear it here for yourself.
Catnap wouldn't like that you're here. You should leave. For your own safety.
And this wouldn't even be the first time. She says it's for our own safety and warns us multiple times before she eventually just decides to take matters into her own hands. So now the question begs, why did she do this when she could just have us either fall into the grasp of Catnap or kill us herself? Because we didn't even know what we were walking into, since Ollie wasn't really sure himself. Now, this could be for the pure reason that these characters need a reason or an incentive to kill us beyond just the fact that we used to work here. Miss Delight herself even recognizes us at one point. So my theory is that even though we are tied into this whole mess, these characters, or monsters in this case, recognize that we weren't necessarily the problem. And even if they want to hate us so badly, they don't really have a reason to just yet. Thus, the reason why they give us different tools and games and rules to break in order to have an excuse to kill us. Or maybe it's something much more sinister. Have we ever given it a second to maybe think that these characters, even though this is a far-fetched idea, could actually have some relation to the player, whether they be former friends, or even just interactions that we've had with these people when we used to work for the Playtime Co-Factory? I don't think it'd be such a far stretch, and that kind of explains why we did see Huggy Wuggy in our hallucinations when we did swallow some of that red poppy gas. How dark and twisted would it actually be if the prototype was having us kill, or at least lead to the death of our friends who are now put into these bigger bodies? I mean, we very much know that the prototype hated the employees of the Playtime Co-Factory, and that kind of spread down to the monsters. But there has to be a reason why the majority of them needed to find a reason to kill us. My thought here is that they used to at least have some memory of good intention when it comes to the player. And that might be the reason why Miss Delight recognizes us but doesn't necessarily remember. You can see in this voice clip here, she even stutters for a second.
Wait, I recognize you. Yes, I remember. You used to work here. How are you? Alive.
Hesitation. That is one thing that really sparked a question when I played chapter 3, but I didn't really make much of it. But it does really beg the question, did we know Miss Delight? Obviously, we must have had some interaction with her because she notices us, and I'm assuming she was literally only in the play care, so did we have a bigger role than we actually are given credit for? And if you even look back at Dog Day and what he says about us, saying as we're the savior, are we known around this place as being one of the nicer employees, or possibly a scientist who was able to reverse all of these things? And is that why we came back? In order to try and change the past and make up for what we've done or been a part of when we basically escaped before the hour of joy. And of course, with the prototype hating us and probably being so irreversible at this point, he wants to torture us in the best way that he can, making us kill the people that we were closest to when we did used to work at the Playtime Co-Factory. But now, playing devil's advocate, the prototype really hasn't helped any of the other monsters. In fact, it's almost like he's helped us along the way. And this is even more noticeable in the final boss fight with Catnap. Notice at the end of the boss fight, Catnap is left burnt, but still not dead. The one who does the final strike is actually the person or thing that Catnap resembled as his god. And that was the prototype, not us. I mean, he really just bounces around here because at one point he saves Catnap before he was put into this bigger body, and then at the other he kills him. So what are his true intentions here after all? And that's what leads me to my second theory, and that's the fact that he's keeping us alive in order to do his dirty work to complete his true form. And I know I mentioned this before, but remember when Mommy Longlegs tries to kill us and instead gets trapped in that machine ripping her body up, she does scream out that she doesn't want to be a part of the prototype, and who other than the prototype decides to drag her body away. And a similar fate happens to Catnap when he's not even dead. The prototype goes a step further, killing him and then pulling his body away. We really don't know what happened to Huggy Wuggy. Miss Delight got smashed by the door, and I'm assuming Dog Day's limp body might still be alive somewhere. But each one of these characters looks to be just helping build this final form of the prototype. And since he's maybe too weak to do a lot of his bidding himself, he relies on us to do it, making these monsters become aggro with us not wanting to really kill the monsters, but getting them to a state where he can take advantage of them. So is this the reason why he's keeping us alive? Are we the one that's really just helping him build this true horrifying form? I mean, one thing's for sure, we already know that the prototype is very manipulative, and you can hear in his different relations and interactions with the doctor that this thing is a lot smarter than he's given credit. And the more you think about it, our goals and the prototype's goals coincide into one ultimate ending, which, as long as that lines up, we'll probably stay alive. And he might just be too weak to kill us after all. We see how capable we are.
We've all seen you, how capable you are. You killed Huggy. You killed Mommy. You freed me. You are perfect for this.
And taking this one step further, I do believe that the prototype might actually hate the other monsters in the game. After all, they are experiments which were created by the thing that he hates most, the humans, somewhat of a successful accomplishment. There's a good chance that he wants to eliminate the things that remind him of the human race, and that includes each of the monsters that we've seen to this point: Catnap, Mommy Longlegs, even Huggy Wuggy. So what better way to enhance your body and eliminate the things that you hate the most? Not to mention, a lot of these monsters are probably more powerful than him and take up a majority of the territory inside of the Playcare at this moment. So eliminating them is really just a bonus in order to secure his reign over the Playtime Co-Factory and maybe even the world. So as you can see here, there's a lot of layers to this question as to why we're still alive. It could be multiple theories all combined into one, or the fact that we are literally doing the bidding for the prototype in order to kind of succeed his process in making this final form. Which now brings up the question: how does our life depend and change the way that we look at the future of this franchise? And for one, it really just depends on when and how long it takes the prototype to get to his final form. This is a mystery, seeing as we really don't know what he looks like, what he used to be, and how strong he could potentially be. But my thought process here is that as we continue on this upward slope towards the end of the game, the exit, and finding the true answer that we're looking for in following the flower, there will come a point where the prototype realizes that we are now disposable, similar to his predecessor in the Catnap. And when that moment comes, things are going to get really ugly. He's going to eventually come after us in what could potentially be the final boss fight of the franchise. But just how far along and how many monsters will suffer the death of the prototype to that point? Another amazing theory video, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying this series. Again, if you do want to see some more, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button and turn on those bell notifications, because this week I'm going to be giving out one free copy of Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, and if you have your bell notifications turned on, it will show up in your community tab. I'll be posting one code at some point in the week. I'm not going to say when, but again, like I said, if you do have your notifications on, you will see it. And that won't be the last of the giveaways, as I'm probably planning on doing this once per week going forward. Either way, guys, again, I want to thank you all for your love and support, and I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you comment down below some of your favorite theories that you'd like me to cover, and until then, peace out!